Now we are discussing modern wedding celebrations. Very exciting conversation. We have a guest in the studio with us in name and person of Oluwafeyikemi Welsing, also known as Sueno. Now she is the dynamic creative director behind the Sueno Exquiste events, a distinguished events planning company based in Nigeria. She was among the 12 Nigerian event planners selected by the Dubai Economic and Tourism for an all-expense trip to attend Destination Wedding Planners Conference in 2023. She was also listed among the 100 fastest growing SMEs in Nigeria by a reputable media organization. Feyikemi is married to Mr. Kolade Welsing. Good morning.
Good morning.
What a profile. I need you to plan my wedding. Yeah. How are you doing? Thank you very much for coming on the show this morning. All right. Now we have a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions concerning, modern, wedding traditions and all of that. We also have case studies that we're going to be looking at together on the show this morning. But before we get into all of that, how in your experience as a wedding planner, how have weddings changed over time? How have, wedding events, wedding parties, how have they changed from what they used to be till now?
Okay, so first off, I would say from what they used to be, I'll talk about that based on when I was growing up and how I attend weddings, because of course it's not like I've been in the industry way back, but compared to now, a lot of things has changed. So, then in those days, if you want to get married, you need to actually travel down to your place or to your village, or it has to be that, it's a proper church wedding and it's happening in the church. But now things have changed. So now there's the development of, I can decide to have my wedding anywhere.
Right.
I can decide, okay, I don't want to do my wedding in the church. I want my pastor to come officiate my wedding at my venue, which was not like that before. Then if you tell your parents that, they are going to be like, no, it has to be. But now things are changing.
Like wedding has to strictly be done in a church, but now that's not really...
things are changing. And then I think now people now get to express people get to have the kind of wedding they want.
Right.
So it's no longer stereotyped to, it has to be the way my parents want it. So now there are a lot of ideas that you can come up with different ideas, even from the dress sense, from how you want your wedding to be, from the ambience, from your decor, from a whole lot of things. So I'm going to say there's been a significant change from then to now.
Yeah, okay. So in terms of venue, like how would you say modern weddings differ from traditional weddings? What influences those choices by the couples? From a white wedding, so to speak, from a traditional wedding. What can be a standout feature that differentiates the two when it comes to venue? Okay,
so I'm going to say this is dependent on the couples what they want for themselves.
Right.
What kind of wedding do they want?
Their taste.
Yeah, their taste and all that. So there's some couple that will tell you, I want an outdoor wedding. I want it to be beautiful. I want a fairy tale wedding. I don't want the whole this, that. So this is dependent on their taste, on the kind of ambience they want to achieve. So it's more like bringing their dream wedding to a reality.
Right.
So this is how I want my wedding to be. This is how I want it to be. So most times it's based on, their interest, even though there's the parent factor where your parents will want to argue and be
it's usually the parents' wedding.
Yeah, they want to argue, but I think now they are coming along. They are trying to understand that as much as it's about us, the parents, it's also about them. So we need to give them what they want. So the difference is like I said earlier when we're talking, I said tradition in those days. So let's just say traditionally, now you can decide that for Igbos. If you want to get married, your trad, you have to really go home. Then you have to travel home and do the proper traditional rites. But now things are changing. You don't need to go home. You can just send whatever they give to you on your list. You can just monetize it.
Interesting.
And so you don't have to travel all the way. So it means you can have your wedding in Lagos and your Igbo. You don't necessarily have to travel. Yes. Then also, when we talk about the modern day of, doing the wedding, that's what I'm saying, that, you can decide to have your pastor come officiate your wedding at your venue. So I want to have a beach party and I don't want to enter the church. Going into the church is the traditional way of, now I want to have a beach wedding. So I can just call the pastor, please come to the venue,
Yeah.
and then we'd work out something, and then the pastor comes there and join you.
You know, I feel like an idea like a beach wedding would not sit well with a lot of older Nigerians, like our parents, you know, the generation X, the baby boomers. So my question is, how do you balance out, for instance, what the bride wants compared to what the parents of the bride was? Like, how do you balance out that, you know?
Okay, so I usually say this, and I usually tell people, or my brides, give them one day. When I mean give them one day. So you're having trad, you're having your white wedding. The only way you can have what you want
Right.
is to give them one of the days. I learned that from a senior colleague. So because I had to ask that question, that how do you balance that? And she said, just give them one of the day. So let's say you want to have your trad, you want to have your white. The only way you can have your white for it to be the way you want is give them the trad and let them do whatever they want. So if your parents say, oh, in the trad, I want all my friends to be there, I want it to be, let them be. Just, you know, let them have it.
Wisdom.
By the time you allow them have that day, when you are not trying to tell them, oh, this is what I want for my white, they would be listening to you. But if you're trying to be like, no, my trad and my white has to be this way, they won't listen.
Yeah.
You understand? So, and then along the line, I've actually found out how to balance. So I'm like a mediator between the parent and the bride or the couple. So I'm like, oh, mommy, don't worry. You would have what you want. And then my bride, oh, don't worry. You have what you want.
That is so smart.
We need to come to like a middle point and a compromise. So this is it. We might not, I'll just be like, mommy, we might not be able to give you 100% of what you want, but I can give you 50.
Yeah. And then they're just like, you know what, it's fine.
And they're like, you know, all these event planners, I'll be like, mommy. So first off, I build a relationship with them. I build a relationship with them, because the thing is that as much as you're trying to say, oh, it's my wedding, it's also their day of joy.
Exactly.
So there's nothing you want to say to them. Well, some parents are changing. We have the learned ones that, okay, this is how I want it, and they will listen, but give them that trad. You see that traditional wedding?
And that's where they have more fun, you know, with
get
live band.
Yes, the live band. So just let them do whatever they want to do. Then you're white, you can decide, oh, it's a destination wedding.
All right. Okay, we are having fun on this particular topic, the topic of conversation. We are looking at modern wedding celebrations, and we have in the studio Oluwafeyikemi Welsing, but we also have another guest who will be joining us. We're going to go on a very quick break. Once we come back, the conversation on wedding traditions continues. Have another guest in the studio with us, and we need to unpack this conversation as best as we can. Now, Oluwafunbi Akinyosoye is our guest in the studio, who is a graduate of marine biology from the University of Lagos, and an alumni scholar and certified entrepreneur of the prestigious Enterprise Development Center of the Lagos Business School. She has over 20 years experience in the events industry and has trained over 300 people through her school in order to improve and contribute her quota to the growth of the event sector and industry as a whole. In addition to receiving so many awards like the Exquisite Lady of the Year, Eloy Awards, where she received an award for the Event Company of the Year, she is the president of Association of Professional Party Planners and Event Managers of Nigeria. It is an honor to have you in the studio with us this morning. How are you doing, Ma?
I'm very well, thank you. And you?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
So we're discussing modern wedding celebrations. Now, before we went on our break, I was asking, a question about how, an events planner would manage the relationship when it comes to planning a wedding between the bride and the parents of the bride. So, I will just kickstart the conversation with you this morning. Let's have your perspective on that. How would you manage, when you're planning a wedding, how do you manage the relationship? What the bride wants compared to what the parents, I really love it. Compared to what the parents of the bride was. How do you manage that?
Honestly, it's a going conversation that we keep learning every day. I tell you, I've been in the business for like 23 years now, and I still tell you I'm still a learner. Because now let me give you a scenario. There was this my bride. Let's just take it. Her name is Funke, and Funke's mom we had this back and forth and all that, and Funke would be so exasperated and say, you know what, Dunami, tell my mom it's my wedding. so here I am, wedding planner that must always be in the good books of both sides. I had to say, mommy, you know what? It's Funke's wedding. She now said, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to speak vernacular and probably translate. And she now said, you know what, Dunamis, so Funke to perfect your wedding here. Ko bimo obìnrin. Meaning, if Funke wants to have her own wedding, she should have a daughter. This wedding is my wedding. I said, please, ma.
Wow.
So you have to you look for a way to strike a balance, and you know, with the wisdom, really strike a balance between both of them, because she's been planning since she had Funke that hey, on our wedding there will not be any need for canopy. My gele will be enough, you know. So you have to know that everybody has something in mind, and so you have to look for a way to make sure you manage and balance, you know, marry them and, you know, balance everybody's expectation.
All right, now we have some case studies that we're going to be getting into later on the show. We're going to be showing you some clips of some very interesting weddings that we thought, you know, I would like your perspective on that. But, you know, before we have a look at those case studies, 23 years in the events planning sector is a lot of, you know, it's a huge time, just 2 decades, over 2 decades. Now, in your time and in your experience, how has wedding traditions, the wedding parties, the traditions, the normal traditions that we know, how have they changed from what it used to be to what we're experiencing today?
I think there's been a metamorphosis.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm a scientist before. I mean,
microbiologist.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm a marine biologist.
So,
you know, there's been a metamorphosis because, you know, like, for example, from you have from pupa to larva, from larva to butterfly. And that is how I think we have evolved in the event industry. Before, when I started then in school, if I tell anybody I'm an event professional, you hear the question like, okay, so you are. So what's your day job?
What do you do?
What do you do?
What do you actually do?
Yeah, and so people haven't come to a wide acceptance of that then. But now you know that it's booming. It has come to, like, it's just like becoming. So we have come out now and we've bloomed. You know, so yes, and so also the wedding trend has actually bloomed too. Before, you had the idea that you couldn't wear only you could wear, as a bride, you could only wear white. But right now you see brides coming out in, you know, all different the colors, you know, and rainbows got nothing on them.
Literally.
So that's what it is. And so it has come to a wider acceptance. Nobody has to tell me now that it's because she's had a child before that she has to wear cream. There's nothing of that sort anymore. I just tell people that right now there are no rules. The only rule is you. What do you want? Let your persona shine forth. It is introducing you to your guests. And so what do you believe in? What are your priorities? What are the things that must not be at your wedding, and what are the things that you must have at the wedding? So for me, I think the bride and the groom are the centerpiece. They are the area of focus. They are the area of concentration, whatever you choose to call them. And so it's their persona that matters right now. You see personalized vows now.
Exactly. Not the normal, you know,
the pastor cannot say don't hold your phone, because from your phone you read your vows. People stuff like that, and I think they should bring it on. We're ready next week.
All right, Feyikemi, my next question is to you. Now, you know, I found, you know, for instance, the whole thing about wedding gowns not being white anymore, but you know, brides are going more for cream and all of that, multicolored and all of that. Now we're going to have a look at some very interesting case studies. But before we answer that, I want you to answer this. What are some unique ways, you know, that couples personalize their wedding ceremonies, and how have you helped them achieve some of this, you know, the taste that they want to see in their weddings?
Okay, so these days now, couple want to have intimate weddings. It's not like those days that you can say, oh, I want 500 guests. I want the whole world to be there. These days we have couples that just want 50 guests. They want it more personalized. Some even want 100 guests, but just people I know, not Mobomoya, not those type. This one now, so like I had a wedding I planned. Everybody in that wedding, the couple knew them. Wow. So there's nothing like, oh, I want to go and bring somebody. No. They knew who was coming for the wedding. And now we now have the options of destination wedding. So because some people want to feel connected with maybe their friends, their loved one, they are ready to take their wedding to Paris, they are ready to go to Dubai. This is still part of what we're talking about. So they are customizing it based on how they want it to be.
Yeah.
And it's still the same thing I'm talking about, outdoor weddings. Some people want the, oh, I want my wedding to be an outdoor wedding. I don't want the church thingy. I want you to bring the pastor to come to my venue to join me. So things are changing. It's not long. So now, these days now is now, what do I want as a bride?
Actually.
So for me, the first time I'm talking to a bride or a couple, I ask them, what do you want?
What do you want?
What kind of wedding do you want? Do you understand? What are the things you're looking out for in your wedding? I've had a bride tell me, my pictures has to be on point. My hall has to be, she told me, light up my hall. That when I'm doing my video, it has to, and so I had to talk to my lights guy, increase the lights.
Interesting.
Light up everything.
Yeah.
So some people are more particular about their look.
Right.
Some people are more particular about, so they are not, some people are not even particular about food. So I think most times the food is even the parents.
Right.
For the Gen Z, okay, let me use the word, the Gen Z couple these days, it's just about them.
Yeah.
So, we want to have fun, want to look beautiful, our after party has to be on point.
Yeah, I know that's a conversation that I actually want to get into. That's a conversation I want to get into with you. The generation gap. I found what you said about intimate weddings very interesting. And we're going to get into a conversation on generational gap. Why is it that the older generation wanted a very bogus party, but compared to like the Gen Zs now and the millennials, where they want, as you say, like a crowd of 50. Very interesting. The first case study that we saw there, they are saying that the wedding, they didn't stop the wedding. In the come rain, come shine. In NYC we say, we're under the sun or in the rain. Literally. Now as an event planner, what would you have done, or what would you have advised an event planner to do in a situation like that?
First, I would have read all the Psalms in the Bible. If you look at the event planner, it was like the world was going to end when that came up. For me, I would say something, and that's what I tell my trainees, that in the letter of the alphabetical letters, we have letters A to Z. That means that we have 26 letters in the alphabet. So every time you have a plan A, always remember we have B to Z. Yes, please. So always make sure you have plan B to D at least, so that in the case of eventuality, we know that we have you covered.
Yeah.
Now, I'm thinking that this is laudable that she has good friends that stood by her.
Actually.
I'm also thinking that what happens if one of them is got some health conditions like an asthma.
Yeah. Exactly my thoughts.
So you don't want to start treating things after. I would be more for safety and health conscious, because health and safety, and HSC person and event planner should also think of the health of the people involved. Exactly. Even though some of the other people might have their heads in the clouds. I want to have an outdoor. We can bring the outdoors in.
Yeah, okay. Now, could the events planner maybe have planned better? Maybe, giving maybe weather forecast.
I'm not going to put that on the event planner.
Okay.
I wouldn't really do that, because I'm in her shoes, and I wouldn't want someone to label me.
Okay.
So they say don't label it because you want to kill it. No. I would rather say that I have a plan B.
Yeah.
So that you tell her too, you break it down to her gently that, babe, I know you love the outdoors, but what happens? Can we get a chupa which is built there? Can we get another chupa built at the back of the reception, so that in case the rain falls, we can actually move your wedding party into this plan B area? We don't know. We're not praying for it. But girl, can I just make a contingency plan?
Yeah. I feel like I feel like you're negotiating with me. I'm like, you know what? Yes. Now I asked a question, and I'll just allow you to answer that before I get back to Feyikemi. Now, about the generational gap. Feyikemi said something about intimate weddings for the Gen Z and the millennial weddings now. Why is that? Why is that the case? Why is it that, we're seeing millennials with smaller crowds, intimate weddings, compared to the, before, our parents and all of that, they like big weddings, massive weddings with massive numbers. Why do you think, there's that disparity?
These are people that go to colleges and institutions where you can even have a virtual trainer, a professor teaching you. So probably they just have a different orientation. And so now we have what I call a paradigm shift.
Yeah.
It's not the same way, you know, as it was in the beginning, so shall it be. No, not anymore. Things are changing. And we've been taught to be innovative, to be able to move with the trends.
Right.
If that's what they are, then I tell people, do you. As a bride, please just do you. And if that's what they're tending towards, please. Who are we to question? It's their wedding anyway.
Yeah, yeah,
so,
exactly.
you know, there was this show, whose wedding is it anyway?
Yeah, I remember that.
So it is their wedding. So please, let's do them.
Yeah. All right. Now, we were talking about now choices of, you know, Gen Z and millennials. Looking at the case study, a lot of people have focused on the dress of that bride. You know, it was a micro gown, actually, you know, and
That's a mini gown.
yeah, right. Yeah, and you know, typically, the bride's wedding gown typically, you know, is always very long, and it's, you know, there's always a trail, you know. Now, taking, if we can just take the video back a bit, let's have a look at how short this gown is. You know, how have you ever been in a situation like this? You know, when you probably, or do you ever have to advise, you know, on like, for instance, on outfits, you know, would you ever have to advise on gowns, on outfits, on presentation?
You know, like I said everybody has what they want
Right.
and what they like.
Right.
So as a planner, I can't enforce my own wish on you. I can only advise. And first off, before I would advise, so there's this thing about emotional intelligence. You need to know who you're dealing with.
Right.
You need to know the kind of bride you're dealing with. So if you meet a bride that is all, I don't care, her parents don't have a problem with it, so why do you have a problem with it? So for me, it's like, does that make you comfortable? Yes. Are you okay with it? Then we're good. So sometimes I follow my brides to, you know, the bridal store to pick their wedding dress. Sometimes I just be like, oh, as a complimentary service, let me just go with you, because I style people.
Yeah.
So when I go with them, and some of them ask you your opinion, I'm like, oh, I like this dress, what do you think? And some people put their church into consideration. So they'll be like, oh, I'm a Catholic, or I go to a CAC, what do you think? And because I've been planning, I know that this wedding gown cannot work in a CAC. So I will tell you that this wedding gown, it will not work in a CAC church. Would have to put this or put that for them to allow you in, because I've seen cases in those churches where they won't allow you inside. And then they will check your wedding dress even before that day. So redeem, like, all those, they will check your dress.
I always just find that strange. Like, why would you allow me to come into the church
they will
for
check,
my wedding?
They will check your dress. Trust me, they will check your dress before that day. So if your dress is not even okay, they have a problem. So for me, I would first of all profile this bride I have. Is she someone that would listen? So all I can say is, oh, a short dress is beautiful. Yeah. But can we make it a bit longer?
Yeah, yeah.
And then I can just add some things and tell you, oh, do you know? Okay, so I've seen a bride with a short dress and with a sneakers. It was pretty.
Wow.
Oh yeah, it was beautiful. She's comfortable. So I tell people, you don't need to wear 6 inches. If a sneakers make you comfortable, please wear it.
Yeah.
So for me, I would have just been like, oh, your dress is very beautiful. It's lovely.
I know, added to that, Observers Online came out saying that, you know, she's promoting body positivity, you know, encouraging women to be comfortable in their skin. Would you, I see, Funbi, would you agree with that? Would you agree with that rhetoric?
Well, I wouldn't want to be a party booper.
Okay.
So I would just want to keep my
Honestly.
you know, but you know, I would rather say that if she wanted to do that, I would say, as a planner, depending on if the church allows, just like Sueno said, and if the church doesn't allow, we can actually decide to do the short thing as a reception dress,
right,
or as a going away dress.
Yeah. Now we are actually running out of time, so this is going to be the final question, right? And let's talk after parties as quickly as we can. I'm glad you mentioned reception. Yeah, that's where the groove is really, right? Now let's talk about after parties at weddings. Why did this become popular, and what makes it different from the traditional wedding reception? Because, you know, sometimes we know with the live band catering to the parents, and after there's always an after
You're
party.
already answering that.
But why has it become such a prevalent thing? I'll let you
That
begin.
is exactly the reason.
Okay.
The after parties have come to stay because you concede to the parents' request. Like, for example, I had a very huge music legend that came for one event I did. And the children don't want that particular band. But the parents were even gifted that band. And it's, you know, it's running into millions that was given to this person. And this person came and sang, and the parents sang the parents in and all of that. So at the end of the day, when everything was over, And I was like, what do you think? It was really a beautiful reception. So I asked the bride's younger brother, so what do you think about this reception so far? He said, no, the reception is about to start. And I'm like, excuse me? I mean the after party. Oh, yes, that's our reception. So that's actually the way it is.
Right.
It is the reception for the people that are getting married.
Yeah.
And the reception itself is the reception for their parents.
Yeah. Sadly, we have run out of time. I really hope we can do this again. I hope the producers will allow us to actually do this again. We had a lot planned for you, games and all of that, but you know, time flies by when you are having fun. Funbi and Feyikemi, thank you very much for joining us on the show this morning.